Chpt up in here. I know. Okay. So, the costs of production. For those of you who haven't read this, and I hope that's none of you, if you haven't read this, you need to make it a priority tonight. This is tough stuff, and it will go down a little easier if you have some familiarity with it. Ethan, is your crotch okay?
It's all right right now.
Okay.
It's glowing. You should get that checked out.
Yeah. All right. So, what do you think your costs are?
My costs?
You run Ford Motor Company. What are your costs? Labor? Transportation, parts, so inputs, materials. Time, taxes, utilities, maintenance and upkeep of your facilities. Labor. Litigation. What? Advertising. Legal costs. When you get sued for failure to replace your ignition. Okay. You get $24 from Lexus?
Yeah.
Wow, that probably hurt them. All right. What kinds of business decisions do you make that are affected by your costs? Layoffs or hiring? Pricing?
Sales.
Upgrading the equipment, bringing out a new line of cars. Okay. Outsourcing. Yeah, speed of production, how much to produce. Yeah. What? Yeah, how much to advertise, where to advertise, when to advertise. You, strangely enough, don't see a lot of Ford F-150 commercials airing during the daytime soap operas and during Ellen. But you see a lot of those airing during Monday Night Football. Okay, watch Monday Night Football tonight. You're going to see Ford F-150 commercials. You're not going to see Tide commercials. Not going to see the Pampers and the Huggies advertised during Monday Night Football. It's in no way sexist. It is good marketing.
Maybe those house moms want that Ford F-150.
Okay. So, lots of vocabulary in this chapter. What is a production function? What's marginal product and how do the two relate to one another? What are the various costs that are part of production? And how does each cost relate to the other? And how does each of them relate to output? How do costs vary in the short run versus the long run? And that's huge. And what is economy of scale? And there is a tipping point in economy of scale. All right. So, when it comes time to study for the test, you must be able to do these things. If you cannot, you will fail. Hey, what? When is that test? Next Wednesday? Oh, no, this Wednesday. Huh? Yes, last current event. All right. Can we logically assume that a firm's goal is to maximize its profit? Thank you. Yeah. Mikhail. Okay. So, profit equals total revenue minus total cost. Total revenue is how much you get from selling your stuff. And total cost is the total value of the input you use in production. After I spent an hour fixing them, So this is what's missing when I pre-record lectures. I can't sit and watch your pencils move and know when to go on.
Yeah, I was so flustered.
That's why somebody needs to come sit up here and pause.
No one told me to pause.
You had
Someone
one
else
job.
said-
You had one job.
Actually, she had 2 jobs. Take her own notes. But you know what the nice thing about that was?
But
You could go back.
that's what I said. I said if you guys really
And
need
watch.
to go back.
I should have done it. I should have spent the day and whatever.
Are we about done here?
Or you could have been like, hey, KK, can you go pause the lecture? And I'd be like,
Here's what won't happen in college.
I can remember saying that.
The professor won't do this and wait.
I can record it with that phone.
Okay, an explicit cost. An explicit cost requires a producer to put money out. I hire workers, I have to pay their salary, that's money out. I order parts from a manufacturer, I have to put money out. Those are explicit costs. I build a new building, I have to pay the contractor. Boom. I get insurance on that building, I have to pay the company. Explicit costs. Okay. Anything that you would get a bill for, an invoice for, is an explicit cost. So what do you suppose an implicit cost is? Implicit is a good vocabulary word for you to know in the rest of your life. Time. Things that can't be concretely valued. It is implicit costs that take us to things like we were talking about when we talked about Governor-elect Ricketts maybe living in Omaha and being driven back and forth to Lincoln. The reason he would be driven by the state patrol and not drive himself is the implicit cost of his time. He spends an hour and a half to 2 hours a day driving himself. That's time lost to read reports, read legislation. Yes?
But isn't that more like everyone besides like the manager, like the top guy, isn't that like have an explicit cost and like wages?
Well, even the CEO has an explicit cost.
So they're like 2 different things. Like,
Yeah.
So
They can be related.
so like if I were to have a 725 explicit cost and then I have an implicit cost and
Right. So let's say that your job at work is you're a mechanic. Okay, you're fixing small engines at the local lawn care place. Okay, your explicit cost is for a job like that $14 an hour. Okay, you've got some specialized skills. An implicit cost would be the fact that you can't go to work if the shop is dirty. You need a clean place to work, things need to be uncluttered, tools need to be where they are. So if Matthias comes in after hours one day and works on his mother's mower, okay, and then leaves tools all over the place and shop rags piled up and stuff, that's creating an implicit cost for you because you have to spend the time cleaning up after him, being non-productive towards your real job. Okay, make sense? No, that's it. The time it takes him to do the job is part of his explicit cost. Right, because he's getting paid to do that job. If I call Kyle in and tell him sweep the office, that's still part of an explicit cost, but there's an implicit cost associated with it in that in the time it takes him to sweep the office, there's not an engine getting repaired.
That's just your opportunity.
It's your opportunity cost. Very good, KK. Implicit costs are why many big corporations and the amazingly wealthy own their own planes. There are a lot of implicit costs associated with commercial air travel. You have to be there so far ahead to get checked in, to get your luggage screened, to get yourself screened. You have to go and you sit at the gate for half an hour before boarding time, right? What? No? No. Just is what it is. Whereas if you have private travel or, say, a share on NetJets or something, you pull up, hand the dude your keys outside the executive terminal. He gets your baggage out, loads it on the plane, parks your car, and you get on the plane.
Ooh, yeah, we could just have your own plane.
Fly your own helicopter.
Okay. Both implicit and explicit costs have opportunity costs. Both of them have opportunity costs. If I give Kyle a raise, that is part of what? It's an explicit cost. But what is the implicit cost associated with giving him that raise? Nobody else gets a bonus this year,
Kyle.
right? Or an implicit cost of that for Kyle may be he's now in a higher tax bracket. Somebody earning $14 an hour is not going to get bumped to it. Though if his wife is, earning a lot in their combined income, could be. Yes, Kyle got married. Well, okay, I'm sorry. His wife or his husband. I don't want to be. Okay. All right. You need $100,000 to start your new business. The interest rate is 5%. So you're going to borrow $100,000. Your explicit cost will be $5,000 interest on the loan. Are we all there? Case 2, you have $40,000 in savings and you're going to borrow $60,000. So what's your explicit cost? What's 6 times 5? $3,000 is your interest. Okay? What's the implicit cost? Nope, not the time you spent to save. What would your savings be doing if you didn't use it? Earning interest. Let's assume your savings was also earning 5%. Never going to happen. Never going to happen in terms of the borrowing interest rate and the paying interest rate being the same. Not going to happen. There would be no grease for the bank there. But let's say that $40,000 is earning 5% in the bank. What are you giving up? Huh? $2,000 in interest. Okay. So, what's total cost on borrowing the $100,000? $5,000 total cost. Okay. And what's total cost on using some of your own and borrowing some? So in both cases, total cost is $5,000. Yes, in reality, this would never be the implicit cost. They just don't pay the same amount to you for saving your money as you.
So really, it would be a little better to use your own money.
Yes.
I earn a penny every month.
Okay. There's economic profit and there's accounting profit. And for those of you who are going to go on into the business world, this is an important separation. It's a fairly important separation for the rest of you, because when those who haven't taken economics talk about profit, they don't know what profit they're talking about. And they confuse things, they muddy the waters by just talking about profit. And you can absolutely explode their heads when they start saying, well, profits will increase. And you say, accounting profit or economic profits? Okay. An accounting profit is total revenue minus total explicit cost. What do you suppose an economic profit takes into account? What? Economics is what? Accounting is very black and white or black and red. Okay. So your accounting profit is always going to be, or almost always, higher because it ignores implicit costs. Do implicit costs matter? Absolutely, they matter. If you go through your life not factoring in implicit costs, you are wasting a lot. Implicit costs are very hard to value. It's like when we talked about public goods and should they install the traffic light. How do we value the benefit of that traffic light? Implicit costs are a little harder to calculate. Sometimes you can't put a hard dollar figure on them, but you've got a good idea of what your implicit costs are. Okay, you're going to buy an Xbox One. What's your explicit cost? It's Cyber Monday. What's your explicit cost? Huh? $399? $329 for your Xbox One. That is your accounting cost. What's your economic cost? How about decreased grades on all of your finals if you buy it now? Right? You can't necessarily put a dollar value on that, except that it might cost you some scholarship dollars.
Or your parents will pay you.
Right?
Would the scholarship dollars still be an implicit cost?
No.
Okay. So indirect things are usually implicit.
Yeah. Okay. Application time. Yay! I know you guys love these. All right.
I don't have the answers this time.
So rent on your office space has gone up by $500 a month. You're going to do two calculations. You're going to calculate the effect on accounting profit. You're going to calculate the effect on economic profit. If you rent your office space, what's the impact on accounting profit if you rent your office space? Your accounting profit goes down $500 a month. Because you're paying $500 more a month. What happens to your economic profit? Yeah, your economic profit's going to go down as much as your accounting profit in that instance. You can't immediately discern that there's implicit costs there. What about if you own your own office space? You can't say profit stays the same. We're talking about two different kinds of profit. Accounting profit stays the same because we have no increased outlay. What about economic profit if you own your own space? It increases by $500 a month because you are, in essence, making $500 a month because you're not paying $500 a month. It's an implicit cost. I said that backwards. Implicit costs. Implicit cost goes up because it should be costing you $500 a month. Because you have to count the cost of your own office space. Your office space costs you, whether you own it or you're borrowing it from someone else. Okay? So you should, in essence, be paying yourself that extra $500 a month. Why would rent go up $500 a month? Because maintenance cost, utility costs, whatever the cost of providing that space went up. So even if you own your own, shouldn't you be paying yourself that much more to occupy and maintain your space? Yeah. Follow? Conjunction junction, what's your function? It's the production function. Production function. Huh? The production function. The production function shows us the relationship between the quantity of inputs, how many inputs, and the quantity of output. Okay? If I'm producing widgets, and widgets have long been the exemplar economic good. Okay? I'm producing widgets. And to produce widgets, I have to input idgits. Okay? If it takes me 10 idgits to produce one widget, you can plug that in and there's your production function, 10 to 1. You don't like the looks of that? Looks a little menacing, does it?
You're making a Mean Girls reunion.
Okay. All right. Farmer Jack grows wheat. I keep thinking I should change this to Joe Dirt. But Farmer Jack has 5 acres of land, and he can hire as many workers as he wants. Can you see where we're going here? At a certain point, Farmer Jack's 5 acres of land is not going to produce more wheat, even if he hires more workers, right? Okay. At 0 workers, Farmer Jack grows 0 bushels of wheat. Apparently, he's unable to actually farm himself. Farmer Jack has 0 productivity alone. He needs a friend to work with. So Farmer Jack hires 1 worker and grows 1,000 bushels of wheat. So how many bushels of wheat do you guess Farmer Jack's going to get out of 2 workers? Oh, don't you wish each additional worker was as productive as the first? But no. Sorry, they have to spend a certain amount of time chatting up each other in the morning. One dude, because I said so. One dude comes in and gets to work. 2 dudes come in and they got to talk about, did you see the press conference yesterday? Did you watch that game? Could you believe that interception? How's the wife and kids? You know, look at this crazy video of cats that I found on the internet. Okay? 3 workers. And Farmer Jack's producing 2,400 bushels of wheat. Look at how much each worker declines in productivity. Wow! They're employees, Tony, not slaves. Farmer Jack does not whip his employees. Okay. So, is this graph a straight line? This is what most production function graphs will look like. This is what most, did I say it again? Oh, this is what most production function graphs will look like, folks. I think of it as looking like a fountain. Yes, it would form, oh wait, I'm going to try and use a math word, a parabola? It would eventually form a parabola.
Would that be its peak then? Is that its peak that you were talking about?
It actually wouldn't go straight.
I feel like it would decrease because it's econic.
There is an upper limit, though. We're going to come back to this. We just got to continue defining things. Yes, ma'am? Yes, it's on my desk. You're too warm now, aren't you? Okay. Oh, wait. More definitions. Marginal product of labor. Jack hires one additional worker. The amount that his production goes up is the marginal product of labor. Yes. It's a temperature infrared thermometer.
Oh. Yeah, how do you use it?
To measure temperature.
What is Dan's?
No, that sounds weird.
Okay. Marginal product of any input is the increase in output arising from an additional unit of that input if all other inputs remain constant. So, yes, ceteris paribus. So assuming that the land is still as productive as it was when Jack had one worker and he hires another one, then you deal with calculating your marginal product. Okay. We assume that he's not using more fertilizer, more irrigation. The only thing he's changing is he's writing one more paycheck. Okay. No additional training for the employees. So you say delta, going back to the very beginning here, change in, right? So delta Q is your change in your output, change in quantity, right? Delta L, change in labor. Must be capital Q, must be capital L. So what do you get if you divide delta Q by delta L? You get MPL, marginal product of labor. Ish, yes. It's like productivity-ish. You're going to want to start on the end of chapter problems tonight so that you can ask questions over them tomorrow. Maddie, that look of horror is slightly amusing. Why? Well, because you've been napping up to this point now. All right. So 1,000 divided by 1 is? Now, from here to here, what is our delta Q? 800. And what is our delta L? 2. Change in L. Oh. So what is our MPL going to be? 800 divided by 1 is 800. What's our delta Q here? 600. What's our delta L? So what's our MPL? Okay? Now let's take all this, crunch it over, and figure out our slope. Okay? Are you with me here? Now, MPL goes down as L goes up. There's an inverse relationship between L and MPL. So the relationship between those explains why the production function gets flatter as it goes up. Yes?
Yes.
So here's our 1,000, right? Our 800, the 600, the 400, the 200, right? We could logically surmise that if we had 6 workers, we would go up 100. Okay. Why does MPL matter? Why do we care? Because at a certain point, your increased labor costs are not covered by increase in productivity. It is that point where it's very, very close. That's the margin, right? Where we need to really be evaluating. Hiring that second worker, not a tough decision, right? Hiring the third worker, not a tough decision. Hiring the fourth worker. No, apparently not, because when he had 0 employees, he had 0 productivity. Okay. All right. Every time he hires an extra worker, his costs go up, his explicit costs go up by the wage he's paying the worker. And his output goes up by the MPL. So as long as MPL is greater than that worker's wages, Jack should hire the worker. Right? Ceteris paribus. That's what I just said. Okay. So now, why does the MPL diminish? Why can't worker 2 be as, how did I just do that? Why can't worker 2 be as productive as worker 1? Why does it go down? What? Huh? Okay. I own a grocery store, and there is 1 checkout lane.
Wow.
And I have 1 employee.
Yeah, there's limited resources to work with.
Limited resources to work with. If I hire another cashier,
You gotta have another cash register.
I don't have another cash register. What am I going to do with that cashier? So the first employee has 500 acres to work with. The second employee diminishes each of their acreage to work with to 250. Right. Same amount of inputs, more labor. Good answer, Tony. Did you read or did you just figure that out? Nice. Okay. So, what did you start that sentence with? Oh, yeah, don't what if. Fixed inputs. Fixed inputs. You have a lawn business, fine, but you're not getting any new clients. Everybody else in the universe is already mowing their own lawn. You're not getting any more clients. So for every additional lawnmower you hire, your MPL is going to go down. Yes?
But how come if you're splitting your stuff in half, why wouldn't your productivity increase? And so you're it doesn't make sense that it decreases when you're splitting it in half. Does that make sense?
Well, I'm getting more productivity out of that 500 acres.
But they're making less.
No, they're creating more.
Well, when they're gaining 800, but the first guy did 1,000 on his own.
Right.
So why?
But out of that same 500 acres with 2 employees, I'm now getting 1,800 bushels instead of just 1,000. They are more productive. They're just both productive at, say, 900 bushels each. Okay. What we're saying is the first guy wasn't maximizing productivity.
Okay. I looked at it.
Because he couldn't pull every weed in the field by himself, but when there's 2 workers and they only have 250 acres to cover, then they got more weeds pulled.
That makes sense. I was looking at it like they're making.
Yeah, but he's pulling 1,000 weeds off of 250 acres instead of 1,000 weeds off of 500 acres. And so that means there's 2,000 weeds getting pulled.